Um, so welcome to Unpleasant Events. This is, we're going to be having a little bit of fun and playfulness in this, including doing a mindful eating exercise with something that's maybe not your favorite. An onion might be too intense. We're not trying to kill you. But something that's maybe not your favorite, if you haven't found it yet, maybe now good. Take a look. But we're going to have our classics start now starting with intention. So we'll be putting ourselves into a bit of discomfort potentially in this class, and knowing in our heart that there's a reason for it. We're doing this to help ourselves out, to deal with the things that are just part of life, part of living a human life. And so, connecting with our kind of bravery or like cheerfulness that we might have around it, and then realizing there's a ripple effect when you are able to deal with some challenges in life that radiates and helps others and yourself.
Thank you, Julie. Heidi?
Wonderful. And as you are shifting from that compassionate check-in to our 5-point check, and since this is our third class together, I'm just going to say the names of the 5 points today, and just in your own special way, checking in with how they're showing up for you and resonating. Through the 5 points, starting with body. The breath, the breathing. Mind and the mental landscape. And emotions and mood. And energy. Perhaps one is speaking a little more to you today, or there's a collective. Always noticing what you notice, allowing that to navigate your experience today. And then the 5-point check, bringing you more intimate to how you're feeling today. We'll move the body into our half sun salute. And today I'm going to actually sit in a chair. For those of you, I'd like to demo just the half salute. But if you want to stand, as I've shown in prior classes, please feel free to stand and mount it. But if you just want to sit, I'll do the seated version today with all of you seated. So standing or seated, finding a quality of a spine that feels comfortably tall. And if you are seated, maybe sit a little closer to the edge. Connect to the feet, grounding into the floor, and resting your arms by your side. Locating the rhythm of your breath. And as you take your next breath in, reach your arms up. We'll just do the arms for 3 breaths. Exhale, release the arms down. Starting to find that smooth, steady rhythm for you. Breathing in, arms up. Exhaling, arms down. One more, just the arms. Inhale up. Exhale down. And now starting the half sun salute with an inhale, reach high. And as you exhale, gently hinge your hips and fold forward towards the floor. And on an inhale, if you're seated, hands can come up to your legs, seated halfway up, look forward. And then exhale, we all fold again. Feel rooted into your legs and feet. Pick yourself up in a big inhale. Arms by your side, exhale. pausing in your shape as you let the breath flow. And taking that mindfulness into Laurel's Mindful Minute. Thank you, friends.
Yes, staying in this space, closing your eyes if it's comfortable, or a fuzzy gaze down. Just listen to the bells till you can't hear them anymore, and we'll be in silence after that for just a minute. Now gently bringing your awareness back to your room, feeling your feet grounded to the earth. And just notice how you're feeling. And as Julie said at the beginning, if you do have an unpleasant food or condiment or drink, anything that's unpleasant to taste, whatever that may be, and if not, if you can imagine something that you don't like. For me, I really don't like okra. It's fuzzy and the texture, and so someone else loves okra and they're like, what do you mean? Julie, yeah, she's like, I like okra. It's not fuzzy and slimy and mushy.
The best.
Oh, get out of here, Julie. Just stop it. No. I don't have okra today with me, but I do have something that is unpleasant. So, and again, just use your imagination if you can. And so today is riding the waves of unpleasantness in life. There's a lot of unpleasant, there's a lot of pleasant. And how do we ride the waves of unpleasantness? So let's start with our senses. And that's where we go to. In Mindful Steps 1, we do a pleasant eating experience with something pleasant. And now in Mindful Steps 2, we're talking about the unpleasant, which is needed to talk about for sure. So whatever you have, if you could smell it or imagine the smell of something you don't like, smell that. Maybe it smells not too much like anything. Like okra doesn't smell too much like anything. So then feel the weight of it in your hand. We're coming to our senses, smelling, touch, the weight of it. Is it light? Is it heavy? And now look at it. Like, oh, look at this thing I don't like to taste too much. Look at it, how it's packaged, or if it's like a piece of okra, it's just part of nature, it's a plant. But if it's something that has a wrapper or something that's processed, like I see Julie looking at her, is it a Nutri-Grain bar? Yeah, I don't like those either. And so anyway, so she's looking at it and everything. And some things you can't squish, like if it was a raisin, we'd have it, you put it to your ear and kind of squish it and listen to that sound. But if I had a piece of okra, I'd just get mushy. So we've seen, we've heard, now we're going to taste, and a little bite, no big bites, please, of something that's unpleasant, but go ahead and take a bite and just let it be in your mouth a bit, if as much as you can tolerate. A second, just let it be in your mouth a bit. Imagine the thing. If you don't have it with you, I'm imagining okra. I would have just taken a little bite of okra, maybe swirl it around in your mouth. And when you're ready, you don't have to keep it in your mouth so long like we do with something pleasant. You can swallow it or spit it out. Hopefully it's mildly unpleasant, so you could swallow it, but that's up to you. And just noticing your reaction to this. Oh my God, what are they making me do? Or this is really unpleasant. I would not choose to do this. And this is a metaphor for life. Sometimes we do things we're told we have to do at work, or We need to do things that are unpleasant in general for ourselves, that are challenging to do. So just notice that, and notice how you feel now after you've done this. You've survived it. You've weathered the storm. So some pats on the back right now, please. Some like, I did it. Okay. I survived. This is okay. I'm still here. No, I'm trying. I'm being a little dramatic, but not. Again, a metaphor for life. Things that happen at work or in your family, in your world nucleus, tight nucleus, or in the world at large. How do we weather the storms of unpleasantness? And so we're giving you those tools in this mindfulness program of breath, of body work, of guided meditation, compassion meditation, and how to be good to yourself, how to talk to yourself. And I'm going to talk about that some more after Julie. We're going to open this up now because I'd love to hear a comment or two, either your voice or in the chat. And Julie is going to share some information.
Just want to make an important distinction. There's an unpleasant event, forgetting to turn the mute off. What we mean by unpleasant, and so feel free right now to think about whether you want to put something you want to try this with later, or if you had an experience just now with the food. We'd love to hear from you. So while you're typing that, I just want to briefly mention this because there can be a misunderstanding. That it's just about something that's just part of life that you have an aversion to, and sometimes this is like you get caught up in traffic, or something external happens, or you have an emotion that you just it's not your favorite emotion to experience, or you have a consequence that came from maybe a difficult decision. It was a no-win situation and you made a decision, you have some consequence. But sometimes, and this is why we want to put this up front, there are some things in life that the best wisdom is to change the unpleasant thing. The unpleasantness is a warning or something you need to change. So we do recommend a serenity prayer approach that, there are some things that is wise to change. And then there are some things where it's wise to accept the fact that, hey, that's not going to change. What happens when you drop the extra stuff you put on top of resenting the activity? So we'll talk a little bit more about that now, but I really wanted to put that up front as like, we're not telling you to like grin and bear everything that's difficult.
Yeah.
So,
yep. Julie in the chat, let's see what we've got. A fear someone wrote about.
Fear of communication.
That's difficult.
So it's maybe about facing the things you kind of just need to deal with, and so we'll have a little bit of fun, hopefully, or curiosity at least. Yeah, I'm feeling bad when you can't fix something. I see that a lot in the professional students. If they can't come up with the right answer, or like as a future physician, if they can't fix the patient right away, there's a frustration, and having to teach approaches about that.
Right. And confrontation is unpleasant. Yeah. And again, that's having to do with communication, having to communicate difficult emotions. And we're going to be doing that. I think that's next week. Let's see.
Communication, yeah.
Yep. Next week, we're going to have mindful communication. So you're in the right class. I can't cope with extreme adventurous behavior of my daughter. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Tied into life.
Right.
It was kind of neat. I was reading your comments in the homework, the Qualtrics homework. Thank you all who participated. It was, I actually was crying reading through the joyful moments. But one of the joyful moments I saw was, hey, I went this whole week without smoking. And so sometimes the joy is about like, hey, I overcame the unpleasant adversity of the situation. And so there's that. I thought that was a nice transition into this week's topic.
Yes. So watching your self-talk again, and I bring this up again and again throughout our series.
Yeah.
Noticing what you're telling yourself about the unpleasant event. Notice maybe what you're assuming. Notice maybe the story you're making up about the unknown, and just recognizing that and go, oh, look, I have no idea. I'm making up this story, or I'm assuming, and it's not fair. It's not fair to you and the other person. So just to be aware of that, and say, oh, I don't have to do that. Or I can make up a story. I can assume, but know what you're doing, having an awareness of this is what I'm doing. And noticing yourself talk to you, are you shaming yourself? And that's not helpful at all. Oh, I'm a bad person, or I did something, to learn and grow from it. Yes. Kind of like what Julie was saying, like learning and growing. Yes. But shaming is to no avail. It doesn't help. And we know that. And that could be something that's a trigger from childhood, even, some shameful events can trigger other shameful events. And then if that becomes too much, that's when it's good to talk to someone, a dear close friend or a therapist, or, someone that you trust and you can open up with. Yeah, Julie, Heidi, would you like to add anything to what we're saying here? Or anybody in the group like to talk about how they ride the waves of unpleasantness? What helps you?
Yeah. I was just relating a lot to the fixer. The fixer, I think that was Sandra who said that.
Well, this isn't.
Oh,
sorry, Heidi, please finish. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. But being a fixer, or wanting to make things right, or wanting to make things perfect, and a little bit of my type A personality coming out, and how especially if my daughter's like, I don't have to fix everything, that they have their own story too. And almost with who said confrontation is unpleasant. Marcia said that, but like confrontation with myself, when I feel I need to fix everything, but then I don't. And then meeting that person that is trying to navigate, giving space and also being a helper. And yeah, so Laurel, you said it great. Like how are you talking to yourself in every moment, with what is arising, pleasant and unpleasant. But yes. Yeah. Donna, did you want to add something?
Well, this was just a hopefully lighthearted insertion. So for the exercise, I brought in an overripe banana that was going to go out in the trash today. I dislike terribly ripe, mushy bananas, right?
Yep.
And so I did the exercise, but as part of it, I discovered that half the banana is actually sort of more edible and along the lines that I like. So instead of wasting, half a banana by putting myself through the mushy part, now I can enjoy the good part with my lunch. So unexpected outcome.
So I think you drop. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like that. Up. Yeah, that reminds me too of our habitual ways. Like if we are, I know for myself, if I just have a habit, wherever that habit's coming from, to not like something, or I don't want to do that. Like sometimes it's like, oh, where's that coming from? Or, and is that taking the pause, the mindful pause of like, maybe I would like to try that. Or, my thing is raw tomatoes. I do not like raw tomatoes. I did not even bring it to the table to try today, but I'm always like, maybe is there another way I could like these tomatoes, right? But or is it just like, when will that habit break? Does it need to break?
Yeah, but it may not. And I don't like raw tomatoes either, but I have a memory that is so delightful of this. I had a paper route, and there's this elderly woman. I was like 12, and she's like, you have to see my garden tomatoes. And she handed me this one, and I'm like, oh, good, my mom loves tomatoes. Oh, no, you have to try it. And I had to eat it like a freaking apple. And And so whenever I eat
Brave
raw
one.
tomato, I don't like it, but I have a fun memory, you know.
That is a great memory.
That's what you call sympathetic joy. Heidi, you talked about that once. You
Yeah.
ate something with your
Yeah.
daughter that you didn't want to, but to align with her, to be comforting. You know, like Julie with the nail. Okay, I'm gonna.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
so good. So we probably all have some kind of experience like that, you know. So,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and checking too. Again, I know I share a lot from parenting, but like if I get into like the habitual no's, no, not now, later, no. You're like, wait, why? But why am I saying no? Is it really a no? You know what I mean? So if it's like, is that just coming from me feeling and my others in my life feeling a little stressed and overwhelmed? But like maybe a no could actually be a yes. Yeah. Yes. Invite that friend over for a sleepover. It's gonna be all right. Yeah.
Yeah. But then honoring the no too. Boundaries are so important.
Yes. And then how does the yes become exactly like better with boundaries?
Yeah.
A yes and.
Yeah. We're hopefully trying to convey and teach you all and ourselves. We all need reminders that to check in with yourself. Is this a good thing for me? To check in.
Absolutely.
Is this healthy for me? Is this a good thing? Or do I need to put, a time boundary on it? Like not today, maybe next week, and being okay with that you're good enough to have a voice, that you can express yourself and be heard to
Thank
you
you,
first. Yeah. Okay. What do you think, guys? Should we move on, Julie, to the meditation? Compassion?
So we're going to do a little imaginative exercise. The tradition has, understanding that the brain is always thinking. Sometimes you can use that quality and use your imagination to sort of imagine something. So here we're going to imagine a mildly embarrassing something like where you wave to someone and it's not the person you think it is. And then you're kind of like, so something of that kind of ilk, something maybe mildly unpleasant that happened to you, but we're going to start with a loved one. So maybe you know about a friend or can imagine them experiencing at some point in their life, some situation. You walk into a retail situation and you're just like, awkward, like who do I talk to about the stuff on the top shelves that I want to get? You're kind of busy, but this situations, okay? So we're gonna sandwich with a little mindfulness, so feeling a sense of groundedness and dignity. It takes a little bravery to explore, and today might not be that day. So again, doing what your energy level is telling you. Finding your breath, not trying to change your breath in any way or breathe super deep, just noticing where you're at. And now using your imagination for this compassion exercise, imagine you have a friend who's been involved in a mildly embarrassing situation like I described. They have the kind of cringe, ooh. And seeing this loved one or friend, imagine how you would feel if they were telling you this story or you were with them in that moment, how you would want to comfort them, maybe laugh with them a little bit if appropriate. And imagine that has an effect. Your friend feels comforted, they enjoyed loosening up about the experience or feel like everything's going to be okay, whatever is best for that friend or loved one. And try to intensify that feeling you get by having that sense of gentleness about your friend's awkward or unpleasant moment. And now regrounding yourself with your feet on the ground. Finding your breath and noticing any sensations that have arisen or float on by. And now try thinking of yourself. Maybe you have a moment where you felt a little awkward or embarrassed recently. Imagine sending yourself a little bit of care, feeling like it's going to be all right, or even humor, curiosity. Feel a sense of lightening up, a burden kind of lifted off your shoulders from whatever awkwardness or embarrassment or cringe you might have felt. And just like you comforted your loved one, you yourself can comfort yourself. You know, it's going to be all right. And your loved one would want that for you as well, right? Whatever friend or loved one you know, imagined, if you struggle with self-love, you can imagine their love. And then imagine spreading that kind of feeling of almost like a camaraderie and, you know, wanting to comfort or inject a little lightness into the situation of people suffering everywhere, right? So imagine that all of us, if we have had moments, everyone's had some kind of moments of awkwardness. Imagine that alleviating that extra suffering is kind of evaporating and we feel a little more open or relaxed. Everything's going to be all right. And spreading that to include kind of radiating in all directions. Everything's going to be all right feeling. And then dropping that imaginative exercise and rerouting in mindfulness. So now we want to stabilize our mind. Is especially important after we rattle it up with an imaginative exercise to restabilize, feeling the groundedness of our feet on the ground, of our seat on the chair or cushion, and almost like a strength of the lower body supporting our spine into a nice kind of straight seated posture, connecting with dignity, with bravery, with peace. Now just noticing our breath. If thoughts or residue of the experience trickle through, that's fine. Just notice how it kind of comes and goes. And now coming back to slowly opening your eyes or opening them more if they were just kind of partially closed. And we're going to move on to the rest of the class. If people have had any experiences, feel free to put them in the chat. Heidi, are you next?
Hi. Yes, I'm unmuting myself. Hello, friends. I'm actually going to share my screen. And there we go. All right. Oh, today a little different approach to the inner yoga. Today's inner yoga is going to be a guided relaxation. So if you want to take a moment and get yourself comfortable, whether that's sitting in a chair, and maybe you're sitting in a chair and you just want to lean back a little bit, kick your feet up on a desk in front of you or another chair. If you're in a space that you're able to, rest on the floor, if you have any props nearby. If you have a table in front of you and you just want to stack your arms and rest your head forward, go right ahead. So again, taking a moment to get comfortable. And I have this image up here so that at any time, if maybe you start with eyes closed, but you just want to open your eyes for a moment, you can land on the image instead of, the Brady Bunch screen or just my face. Or if you prefer not to close your eyes, you could look here at the screen, at the image, or find something in the space around you that is something pleasant to look at and calming to look at. All right, and I'll even turn my video off here. So getting your body comfortable. And again, today's practice is a guided relaxation. And today, since we're on this theme of kind of unpleasant experiences, I'm going to be offering you a tense and release practice. And the tense and release invites you a little more into that embodied experience of what are you feeling? What are you sensing? What is alive in you right now? So as you are getting comfortable, maybe shift just a little bit in the quality of being here. Perhaps welcome you in this moment. And then starting to turn some attention to the welcoming and the listening, the I hear you. I sense you, body. Hello. I've kind of been out and about in the world today, doing my work, but right here, this is my focus. Listening is an act, it's a play of receptivity. And receptivity doesn't, force an answer to occur, right? It allows things to arise. Allows things, maybe even the play of opposites like tense and release, to be part of the whole ocean of awareness and possibilities. So with tense and release, as I guide you, you'll be guided to regions of the body that through the breath, I'll guide you to tense up regions of the body, and then also breathe and release, relax those areas of the body. And know that every cue, every suggestion that I offer, it's all just an invitation. Honor your experience today and choose a level of participation you need. If you just want to completely rest and just listen to my words today, let that be your practice. All right. So now start to gently turn your attention to the breathing body, right? From the 5-point check, that connection to the breath. And start to witness the conversation arising between your inhalation and your exhalation. without forcing. Again, it's receptivity. So without forcing the breath to do anything, it's noticing what's already occurring. Body naturally has an inhale. You might notice a little pause at the top of that inhale. And then the body naturally will exhale. And there might even be a pause before it turns back to the inhale. Notice what you notice here. Getting into the rhythm of your breath. And now, as the body's breathing, turn your attention to your right leg and sense into this area. Sense from hip to knee to foot to toes. The whole right leg. And when you're ready, with a long, full inhale, tense the muscles of the right leg, a little or a lot, from toes all the way up to the hip. Pause the breath for a moment. And with an exhale, gently release that tension in and around the whole right leg. Allow the breath to flow, unbound by the tension. And now turn your attention to the left leg. Sensing your left hip, down through the knee, lower leg, foot, and toes. And when you're ready, on a long inhale, create tension, skin, muscle hugging to the bone. Suspend the breath in for just a moment. Notice what that tension feels like for you. And then gently exhale a long breath out, and like a wave, releasing tension flowing out through the left leg. And body breathing, tension releasing. And now just notice both legs settling. As you drift your awareness and attention to the right arm. Sensing this region from shoulder down through the arm to the palm, the hand and fingers. And with a long inhale, start to contract and tense up the muscles of the right arm. Maybe a gentle fist with the hand. Pause the breath for a moment. And exhale, let it release. Let the arm grow soft. Body breathing, witnessing sensation and tension flowing out of the arm. And now noticing your left arm. Shifting attention, focusing left shoulder, elbow, sensing hand and left fingers. Again, with a long inhale, start to tense the muscles, curling in a fist, holding that unpleasant tension. And then with an exhale, letting that be, letting it flow, a softness moving down through the fingers. Body breathing, tension releasing. And then welcome both arms in your awareness, right and left, equally resting as much as is comfortable today in this moment. And then turn your attention to your head and sense your head, your face. Noticing your face, your cheeks, your nose, your mouth. And then when you're ready, on an inhale, might feel awkward, but smoosh up your face, like biting into that unpleasant thing, a raw tomato or okra. smushing it up. Kind of hard to breathe in there, but hold the breath for a moment. And when you're ready, oh, let softness come back to the face. Maybe even let that feeling drift down into the chest and upper back. Welcoming back a quality of softness in face and head. Breathing gently through your nostrils. And now traveling your attention to the whole torso. And then out through both arms, both legs, hands, feet, fingers to toes, the wholeness of you. And now as you take a breath in, whole body, any amount, tense, 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 legs, arms, belly, face once more. Hold the breath in. And then with a big exhale, whole body from center to periphery. Oh, let the tension flow. Allow the breath to flow a little more comfortably here. Each exhale, releasing a little more tension. Sensing the quality of your body as it keeps responding to releasing a little more. Creating more ease and softness, little ways, breath by breath. And abiding, marinating, just a few more breaths here in the quality of your experience. Center of the body to the periphery of the body. Welcoming in more pleasant sensation of ease, relaxation, peace. What pleasant word do you give that quality today? And now gently allow your attention to come back to the quality of yourself, supported by the floor beneath you, nourished by the breath within you, senses becoming a little more awake and aware. Perhaps noticing the quality of your breath in and out through the nostrils. Welcoming back this experience. You may wish to create little organic movements, a little stretch, a little sway as you transition from that guided practice. If your eyes were closed, maybe blink them open a bit. Let the sight come back. Receptive sight. It might feel nice to look around. And then resetting into your seat. If you're resting on the floor and you don't want to stay there and just listen and watch for the rest, please feel free. Or reset your seat as we hear a little more from Julie. Thank you, friends.
Julie, you're muted.
Oh, it's good to have the relaxation if you're working on something more challenging. Make sure you have balance with that, something that's going to take down any of your, stress response or sympathetic nervous system hyperactivity. It's really nice to do both. So what we want to do also is train ourselves to use our attention to take things down a notch. So we tend to put this extra, extra layers on top of whatever, suffering that we might experience in life or unpleasantries. And so I sort of have a little bar graph, kind of a side bar graph here. Like we might feel frustrated, but then we add to it, oh, whoa, it's me. I just can't win. There's all this extra, or it's cold and chilly outside. And this happened to me the other day. I took my dog out and I didn't realize the sun was out. It was still really, really cold. And I didn't really fully comprehend that till we were already kind of partway into the walk. And I'm like, oh, it's just too cold. I don't like this. And, at some point in time, I was berating myself about like, oh, gee, should have checked the temperature on my phone. I should have worn something warmer. Whoa, I can't turn around. You know what? I can't really turn around. My dog is super excited about this walk. I'm just going to go. I'm not going to get frostbite. It's not that cold. I'm just going to go with it. And as soon as I dropped the extra, then moments of too cold would come and then they'd pass and I'd be like, look at all the birds. So that's kind of the type of thing that we're talking about, that we're not going to eliminate unpleasant things or the experience of being, having an unpleasant experience or reaction, but maybe that extra doesn't have to happen. And this can happen naturally. So we might be embarrassed and realize, well, I'm embarrassed because I'm standing up for a friend. I'm taking, and I'm brave for doing that. I'm taking this on. I'm doing the right thing. Then that awareness naturally reduces the extra. And so we have kind of can eliminate that extra suffering a bit, or at least dive into it a bit and kind of, realize you don't have to hold on to it. And instead have a curious, hey, frustration, what's up? Oh, okay, I feel frustrated. What else do I feel? And then that allows you to move through things a little bit easier. So research have shown is when you're naturally more aware because you're involved in activism or a movement or something, you're really aware that this, the suffering that you might experience is part of, a really good movement that you're trying to do, right? And so it increases well-being, it protects against psychological difficulties. And in one extreme example with these Turkish democracy protesters in the 90s, it actually protected them against PTSD. So when we're aware of, oh yes, well, I'm suffering, but I can live with the consequences. It's not the only thing that's going on. So this is just another kind of brain, understanding our brain might help us understand what's going on. We're wired, we have a reward region, the nucleus accumbens. This is from a compassion meditation study, like what we were just doing. But the other thing that can evoke the reward system is avoidance and escape. So in the moment, we're walking down the hall, somebody we don't like is, coming, but they haven't seen us yet, and we duck down a different hallway. That moment we're like, whoo, dodged a bullet there. I didn't have to talk to that person. We get a little burst of dopamine. But then all of a sudden we're like, what the heck? I'm hiding from someone. What am I doing, right? And so then sometimes we might feel like a long-term consequence, but we're acting, for a short-term consequence. So these are the types of things that becoming more familiar with those unpleasant experiences and a little bit more like open can help us move through that. This is a study that I've presented before on Mindful Steps 1 and in pain, just to kind of remind you of it. They were doing mindfulness and getting a little bit of painful stimulus in an MRI and found that the unpleasantness and intensity of that pain reduced with mindfulness and also placebo. That tells you how powerful the mind is in terms of how unpleasant we assess the situation to be. Our mind is like a huge part of the equation. Even a doctor saying, take this sugar pill, it's a placebo. Take this placebo every day and you'll feel better. You will feel better even though you know it's a placebo, which is just amazing. But here we're talking about mindfulness, which was more effective than a placebo at reducing the unpleasantness of a painful stimulus, right? And it's the only thing that can actually change how you're perceiving it. It changes how you perceive your sensations. It actually makes a change in the brain. So when we're taking it down a notch, we're, kind of taking out that extra, and we're saying, do I have to really be that extra? So this is kind of the experiences that we're working on. Are we ready to go over homework, or do we have another? Should I go for it, or are we?
Yeah, go ahead. Yep, that's the flow. Mhm.
Okay, just seeing if we wanted to have a little conversation before, but over the course of this week, we invite you to, whether you do these things every day or if you just notice yourself in unpleasant moments, try playing with them a little bit. Like you're doing laundry or cleaning. Hey, oh, I hate having to do the dishes. This is awful. I hate it. Well, maybe explore, just like you did with the mindful eating exercise. Like, is the entire thing terrible? I found that I don't like the smell of this granola bar, but the taste wasn't as bad as I expected. And so you might, just with the banana example is another good one. You might find out there's aspects of the task. Oh, I like seeing it come out nice and clean. The situation is not a monolith of unpleasantness. That often happens with my migraines. It's not a monolith of pain. It actually ebbs and flows, and there might be even a good moment in there. So there's some fun, taking a kind of a boring photograph, or a radio song comes on, and I've actually just tried to force myself to listen to, all new music from '92, The Moose, right? It's fundraising week. Okay. They do not sponsor me, but part of the trouble of listening to new music is you have to get through the boredom of, I don't know that song. And so you might find, oh, hey, wow, actually that song's pretty neat now that I've gotten past the, I don't know if I like that. Oh, it's kind of cool. And procrastinate a task, embarrassing moments like we did the meditation. So you can play around with just the natural experiences of your life, but have fun. I like this meme whenever it comes up because I've done this before. I haven't done all this. I waved at a man because I thought he waved at me, but he actually waved at someone else to avoid the awkwardness. I still held my hand high, got a taxi, picked me up, left me off at the airport, and now I'm living a new life in Poland. So it shows us like how extreme these situations can be. And if you really want to dive into something, I've decided we don't really have time in this class unless we want to open it up for this, but the Atlas of Emotions, if when you decided what mountain to climb in the first week. If you wanted to dig a little deeper, you've taken our mindfulness classes before, this Atlas of Emotion is a wonderful way to explore some of the more difficult experiences that we have in life and what causes them, and allows us to be a little playful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Any
Thank you.
questions you have about the class? We have a few minutes to dialogue about any experiences you had.
Yeah. And experiences, yep. And if we all like to do at the end gratitude snippets.
Oh yeah, of course. Laurel, you want to lead a gratitude thought? Go ahead.
Go ahead, just do it. Something, yeah. I try, not every morning, but it's really helpful for me when I wake up, not immediately, but when I actually get up, walk to the bathroom, is to just kind of like, what am I thankful for today? I'm thankful, or sometimes I don't even say what I'm thankful for. I just said, thank you. I just say, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And it feels good to say thank you. And it may come to me what I'm thankful for, or it may not. It just feels good to say it. Yeah. So you might want to try that one on for size. And if it helps, great. If it's not, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, just coming into that heart space. We're so busy most of the day with tasks and objectives and out there things to do that it's nice to come in a few times during the day with some nice deep breaths, coming into this awareness of compassion to you, kindness to you, and the checking in with yourself, like we're practicing with Heidi, You know, what do I need? What do I want? What would be good for me? And putting you on the playing field of I matter equally, equally,
Mhm.
equally. And having some gratitude for that, maybe like, oh, I'm grateful that I'm honoring myself. Like, you're coming to this class. This is huge. Taking an hour out of your day. And some of this might be totally new to you. It might be repeat. It might be whatever it is. You're taking the time for you. And that's what matters. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that, to see that and to be the container and the space to hold your presence with us. As I'm so super grateful for that. So whatever you're feeling in your heart today, I encourage you to allow that softness, that introspection of, you know, I'm taking care of myself. I'm trying to be kind, and trying, the capital T, trying to be kind to myself. Okay. Anyone like to share? We'd love to hear from you.
I'm seeing the procrastinated tasks being the kind of humorous burden, but that's a
Yeah.
good place to, you know, if you're tackling a procrastinated task, say, oh, you know, I'm doing something for myself. You know, I've got to do this thing, and it's a kindness to work through, you know, whatever I'm working through around it. And that might kind of help a little bit. Being
Yeah.
able to, you know, see a therapist. You know, those are, you know,
Yeah,
that's a lot of bravery in some of these things, you know.
Well, that's huge. And your husband agreed to
Oh,
go
yes.
with you. That's a lot of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like Julie was saying, to come into your courage, you're coming into your courage.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've started doing mindfulness
nice things for
videos.
yourself.
And it's not a should, like when I went with my dog, you know, when all of a sudden I'm like, I can't really change the situation, you know, it doesn't make sense for me
Right.
to, I didn't say I should look for something positive. It just, when you kind of drop, it opens up naturally. Like all of a sudden it's just like, oh, all that cortical real estate that was processing how awful I feel can turn in, you know, starts to look for something else.
Yeah. Yeah. And Shauna, I like your comment. I'm thankful for the friends that find value in me. That's really resonating, because actually one of the things that came up for gratitude snippet today is that my daughters are, it can be unpleasant. They're in middle school and high school, and finding friends, being friends, navigating friendships is unpleasant at time when you're going as a teenager. We all can remember those days. And even now as an adult, it's sometimes navigating those waters. But my gratitude is that my daughters are, they're finding their way, and they all three have, you know, good friends that value them. And they're also recognizing when it's leading on a different path with certain friends. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for all your comments. There's quite a few.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you for the reminder to breathe.
Sun is
Yeah,
shining.
even though it's cold today, I'm thankful that the sun is shining. The birds are visiting my feeders. Oh, yes. Something that gave me joy today. Only 33 days until spring. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So hopefully, you know, if you get too drawn into the unpleasant, you can remember last week's joy, you know, assignment, and those can blend together. They're really part of
Yeah.
the same coin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next week, folks, we will be doing mindful communication.
Mhm.
Yes. And if you know of anyone who'd like to come to our class, bring them along, send them a link. They can join at any point.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We love reading your Qualtrics responses. Just because you all don't get to read them, but someone talked about their little 2-year-old being able to say Happy Valentine's Day. You know, it's just really like sweet delights. You know, the Yamani Cafe and those delicious. If you've ever had the pistachio dessert there, the desserts are really good, and the sun and the flowers, and it's just.
Where's this, Julie?
These are the survey responses.
This about the cafe was a survey response.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was. Yeah.
Thank you, Tracy. She says, I always leave feeling more relaxed. That's a good thing. Oh. Yeah, well, we'll be on for just a couple more minutes. We want to honor your time. It's 1 o'clock now. So please have a kind week to yourself.
Yeah.
Checking in with yourself throughout the days to come. Oh, thank you, John.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.